Hi. Welcome to another movie plot. Spoilers ahead. Out on a camping trip in a national forest is George Henderson and his son Ernie, who just bagged a rabbit for his first ever kill. George's wife Nancy and daughter Sarah disapprove of the hunting lifestyle.
Back off, Sarah. It was him or me.
And want to make it back home before dark. As George speeds through the forest, knowing these woods like the back of his hand, he hits the trifecta: sun in his eyes, fog on the road, and a distracting family. All culminating in a hairy man collision. Relieved that it wasn't a human they hit, the Hendersons just assume it's a bear. Wanting to check out his kill, or possibly finish it off, George investigates the beast and notices that it smells awful. And realizes to his horror that it isn't a bear. An overzealous Ernie rushes over and says what everyone's thinking.
Bigfoot.
Having hit a Sasquatch, George begins to think of ways to make money from the discovery, and hoists the creature onto the roof of the car to bring home. Having just assumed it was dead, the creature wakes up mid-drive and scares the family once again. After knocking it out, once again, and taking his gun to go see if it is alive, once again, George checks it for a pulse like you would a human but doesn't find anything. So they strap it back to the roof and head home. Early morning and a curious George goes to the garage to check on the creature, but is shocked to see it wasn't dead. Hearing a noise from the house, he walks in to find it's knocked over the fridge in an attempt to find food. The beast goes at George and begins stalking him around the room curiously, until Ernie, Nancy, and Sarah all eventually enter the room. Nancy lures the smelly creature away with some lavender fresh while Sarah tries to save her flower, but Bigfoot eats it. She begins to get mad and yells at him until eventually it yells back. So they flee from their home and watch it from a safe distance. They see him begin to assimilate into their home, learning that lamps are hot and that pot plants taste good. The creature doesn't approve of the hunting lifestyle either, and becomes very confused by a deer mount on the wall, not understanding where the rest of its body is. When it begins to go upstairs, George finally has enough and takes his rifle up a ladder to get a shot on it. About to kill the creature but stopping himself when he sees the humanity in his eyes. Just then it bursts from the back door and leaps into the yard, burying a mink stole he found in one of the rooms. Trying to use this time to sneak back inside, they realize that he is burying all the taxidermy, so George takes the rest from around the house and puts them in a closet. Nosy neighbor Irene comes to visit, so the Hendersons keep her distracted while Ernie takes Bigfoot to the basement, with his enormous weight destroying the staircase on the way down.
We're all right.
Irene notices the chaos and pushes her way inside, deciding to take some of their peanut butter. As the basement struggles to contain the creature, George quickly moves Irene along. When trying to get Ernie up the missing stairs, Bigfoot hands him to George, showing him just how sweet he is. The Hendersons decide to take the day off work as the creature emerges from the basement. The family dog Little Bob rushes to the aid of his owners but gets snatched out of the air. Before Bigfoot crushes his head, Nancy shows him what a dog is actually for, which he enjoys. She sees that he is hurt and decides to bandage him up. Ernie teaches him how to deal with the pain while Nancy disinfects the wound. Having a change of heart, they are wanting to now keep the creature to make money instead of selling him, so George begins to devise a plan.
Definitely male.
A hunter named Jacques Lafleur realizes that the monster he has been tracking has been picked up, finding the Hendersons' license plate having fallen loose when they collided. He argues with his former partner Dr. Wallace Wrightwood about the beast's legitimacy, spending their whole lives searching for Bigfoot. Wallace gave up while Jacques is still on the case. The next day George shows that he has taught Bigfoot using sugar cubes to sit. And he begins sitting on everything. As Nancy argues that he be taken back to the forest, we see that it won't be so easy, as he is beginning to enjoy himself, having learned to eat leaves with dip and watch TV. During the cover of darkness, George lures him into the back seat of the station wagon with the catch of the day: double fish burger on a sesame seed bun with tartar sauce, 2 orders of extra large fries, and a chocolate shake, which he graciously accepts. Ernie gets upset having come to like having a Sasquatch around, but understands he is better off in the wild. Ernie misconstrues his father's word Harry as Harry, and thus he gets his name. Harry watches the family talking and begins tearing up, before ripping the door off and disappearing into the city. George tries to find him, but he's already broke into a neighbor's fridge, who sees his toe and thinks it's a mouse, smacking Harry with a magazine before passing out. The family return to normal life as Ernie releases Bob into the wild. But he just runs around to the back door. Lafleur tracks down the Hendersons' location from their license plate, and disguised as a ranger he goes to their house to question Nancy. When she gives him nothing, Lafleur goes to the nearest gun shop to buy some ammo, not realizing it's owned by the Hendersons. When George hears from his father that LaFleur is in the big game hunting business, having been the one to kill the bear in their store, he goes to the library for some information on Harry but only finds books depicting him as evil, as they've all been written by LaFleur. Harry tries to make his way back home, but is trapped inside the city limits by all the traffic surrounding him. Reports of sightings become more frequent on the news, so George visits the North American Museum of Anthropology to try locate him, which is just a small Bigfoot museum. He finds it's owned and operated by Sasquatch expert Dr. Wallace, but since the doctor has become doubtful of Harry's existence over the years, he refuses to entertain George's story. While working, George's father asks him to draw something of Bigfoot for the store window, but not an accurate picture, one portraying him mean and scary. George ignores these details and remains accurate to Harry, but sees the Bigfoot craze is already out of control. Hearing from a customer that the monster was spotted near his home, George takes off in search of Harry once more, seeing that his father has vandalized his artwork on the way out.
I quit!
At Harry's last known location, George hears from a cyclist a made-up story of an aggressive monster attacking him, calling him on his lies the biker crumbles.
Yes!
Being captured on camera by the reporters, Harry spots George on TV in a store window, but is confused as to why he can't take him with him, trying over and over again until eventually the police arrive and he runs away. The police corner off the area, as George and LaFleur both arrive at the same time to help search, along with a bunch of townspeople all looking to kill Harry. The first to come across him though is the hunter LaFleur, but Harry manages to quickly knock him out. When George finds Harry, he has no other option but to steal a dump truck before the police arrive, speeding through the city to get Harry home. LaFleur wakes up and attempts shooting Harry at close range, and when Harry's curiosity gets the better of him, he almost succeeds. But George slams the brakes on to save a homeless man, and sends the two flying. Harry escapes with George in the family car, but not before LaFleur sees the license plate number and subsequently gets arrested. When George brings Harry home, the Hendersons are all happy to have him back, and bury the rest of the hunting trophies to pay their respects to the dead animals. The next morning, Irene notices hair in her pool having been used as a bath by Harry, and he is shown being pampered while watching The Addams Family. George gets a call from Dr. Wallace, who asks to have dinner and discuss the Bigfoot, to which he tells him and the rest of the Henderson family to give up on Bigfoot, as he spotted him once 50 years ago and lost his whole career in pursuit of seeing him just once more. As he rants about there being no big feet, his faith is rejuvenated when he finally gets to meet Harry. They discuss how smart he is while Harry sets up a bed to sleep in for the night, and Wallace agrees to help him take him out of the city in the morning, setting up his own bed right next to Harry. At the police station, LaFleur calls someone high up stating that he has found the monster, securing his release and heading back to the Hendersons. In the morning, Harry gives Sarah Irene's roses as a goodbye gift, but Irene spots LaFleur following their trail and assumes he's the thief. When she corners the tracker with a knife, she spots Harry through the window of the Hendersons and faints. The family use this time to escape in Wallace's old truck, busting LaFleur's tires on the way past. So the hunter takes the Henderson station wagon instead, chasing them through the city but getting held up by traffic. Arriving at the National Forest, Harry doesn't want to leave the family, so George is made to yell at him until he does. When LaFleur finally arrives, he begins following the creature's footprints through the snow. Knowing he would, the Hendersons wander around with fake feet on to confuse the tracker, while Harry watches from above. When he sees LaFleur, he leaps out of the tree, and begins to run away while evading the hunter's bullets. Little Bob comes to the rescue of Harry, but LaFleur just throws him away. Harry catches Bob out of the air, and before LaFleur can grab his rifle, breaks it in half, but the cunning killer knees Harry in the balls and runs. Not getting far at all though before Harry catches him and holds him down until everyone shows up. An angry George wants to kill him for what he's done, but Harry stops him and shows LaFleur compassion through his old friend's faith and Harry's kindness. LaFleur changes his mind and decides that Harry deserves to live in peace. George thanks Harry for everything and tells him to take care of himself, to which Harry replies, "Okay." As Harry leaves, several other Sasquatches appear from the surroundings, and disappear with him into the wilderness. And the movie ends. Harry and the Hendersons is a 1987 fantasy comedy film directed and produced by William Deere. Steven Spielberg served as its uncredited executive producer, while Rick Baker provided the makeup and creature designs for Harry.
It's my first blood.
Winning an Oscar for Best Makeup at the 60th Academy Awards, the film was originally released as Bigfoot and the Hendersons in the UK. Kevin Peter Hall said that the role of Harry was his favorite role to play, while Baker says that Harry is his greatest creation. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more.
Forgive me?